Okay, fantastic. Welcome. Today we have Sean Gavin, Catherine Wagner, and Mimi Sterling joining us for Why Businesses Should Support the Arts. My name is Philip Silvestri. I'm president and publisher of Local Profile of Collin County. We are the leading leadership lifestyle local leadership and lifestyle publication of Collin County. And we're extremely pleased to be here. So why don't you introduce everybody, or yourself?
Hi, my name's Sean Gavin. I've been with the American Airlines family for 18 plus years, currently a senior VP at our credit union. Happy to be here today. And as we get a little bit more into the discussion, I'll share some of what I've been doing with our company when it comes to arts and encouraging our team members to really kind of elevate their daily experience in our new headquarters.
I'm Catherine Wagner. I'm the CEO of Business Council for the Arts. I'm going to just ask, who is familiar with our organization? Oh, good, great. I wish I could see you better. Thank you. So we were founded in 1988 by Ray Nasher to create stronger, better partnerships between business and the arts. And we have a lot of different ways that we do that. So I'm really excited because I'm figuring that the people that are here now, those of you that are here now, are interested in this topic. And so you're our kind of people. We really have lots of different kinds of programs. Both Sean and, I'll say both, Sean and Mimi and Philip are all members of our board of directors. And each of them in their own way exemplifies how business can work with the arts.
Hi, I'm Mimi Sterling, Vice President of Corporate Culture and Philanthropy at Neiman Marcus Group. I've been there just about 5.5 years, formerly in a PR and events role, and took on this new position just under a year ago. My role is to focus not only on our external philanthropic giving and nonprofit work and partnerships, but also our associate engagement through nonprofit work and culture. So I'm excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Sean, do you have a couple?
I think so. I think to get started, we're going to show a couple of slides with our new campus. For those of you who are familiar with the area, on the south side of DFW Airport over the last couple of years, you have seen a number of large glass buildings coming up. The thought behind that was post the merger of US Airways and American Airlines to bring all of our team members to the same campus. So that unites both our headquarters employees, who traditionally have been on the east side of 360, with our team members as they're going through training, new hire orientation, and are supporting the daily operations in our operations center, which traditionally have been on the west side of campus. So let's see what the clicker does for us. Okay, this is our kind of broader shot of the main headquarters. It's a large campus as we have built new buildings as well as reconstructed some of the existing workspaces. Each of these buildings are called Skyview. This is Skyview 8, which is the main headquarters building. Comprises total campus will be about between 10 and 12,000 employees once everyone finishes moving over there. Next February. We've moved most folks in over the summer. And this one I wanted to spend a little bit of time with. This is the 3-story atrium that is in the main headquarters as you walk in. And immediately once you walk in and you look at the top, this is one way that the company has brought art into really everything we do as far as the new campus. Looking at the top of the ceiling, it portrays both the shape and design as if you were looking at an aircraft engine straight on. This was an idea that the company took from the Qantas headquarters in Australia. Looking at the atrium overall, it's a very open environment. The leadership of the airline has the opportunity to There are no offices. It's a very collaborative environment, and it really unites everybody, regardless of if it's their first day of work or their 40th year of employment at the headquarters. This is one of my favorite pieces, very Instagrammable. What you may or may not have known is every different plane type has its own seatbelt that is designed specifically for that aircraft. This is a very larger variety of the 787 seatbelt. It took over 6 months to actually manufacture using the exact same materials that you would have used for a much smaller human-sized seatbelt. Obviously, folks are really enjoying getting their picture taken with this, and it's on the ground floor as you envision the 7-story headquarters building. We start on the ground with more kind of earthen tones, mechanic, ground-based type art and coloration. And as you move higher in the building, it gets to be more focused on your lighter colors, be it the sky in some places or the starry sky in others, as well as also focusing more from kind of a ground-based team member to more of our in-service flight team members as you go throughout the building. This is one of my favorites. It is a sculpture made out of the flight safety cards, and we did this kind of for 2 reasons. One reason is it's something that folks perhaps don't pay as much attention to as they might if it's their first time of flight versus their many time of flight. And so they took the different flight safety cards, put them on machined metal, and crafted them in such a way as we have about a 1.5-story kind of motif there as you walk up one of the open staircases. The spinning chairs have absolutely nothing to do with the airline, except we like to have fun. And these are some of the same chairs you might find in front of the National Sculpture Center if you're downtown. So far, we haven't had any serious injuries, but some really funny videos. This was a gift from our friends at Lufthansa. We work a lot with them on different types of industry stuff, and this is interesting. It's not just the kind of wheel piece for a plane, but it also kind of grounds, again, kind of keeping in mind the ground layer focuses on our ground-based team members. You get higher up, focus more on in-flight service, and we always have the blue light going. My favorite piece, it's kind of tough to see unless you get a little bit closer to it. This is actually a 16-story long piece of art that was created by our aircraft maintenance team up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it is taking the same metal that an airplane is made with and framing it in the way that a contrails might follow an aircraft in flight. And it overlooks the company cafeteria. The most interesting part I found of the piece here is the fact that they never really actually were in the space when they were designing the art. We just gave them the dimensions of the space, and they crafted this amazing, amazing piece to fit the workspace. And it is really, really impressive if you have an opportunity to see it in person. And I think this is the last one, again, very Instagrammable. Obviously one of our tails for one of our planes, and it was manufactured for the space by the same company that does a lot of our mottos that employees use, typically anniversaries, retirement celebrations, or just in celebration of team efforts. So a really nice tear there right in the lobby.
How would you characterize the relationship of companies with the arts and DFW, and how do you go about fostering it?
So in just thinking about today, I was curious, and I am wondering how many people, and I think that just because of the title of this panel, it's going to be weighted towards the pro, but how many of you here engage in some sort of art yourself? Like, do you make music, crafts? Just trying to see. Perfect. Okay. And so, what about this table? No? Okay. So, to answer that question, I think business support for the arts in general is strong. And the reason that we think it's strong is because every 5 years we do a study with Americans for the Arts, our national arts advocacy organization. Business Council for the Arts does, and we do it for our region. And the most recent study showed that the economic impact of nonprofit arts and culture organizations had grown threefold since 2010. So the economic impact of just nonprofits, not if you're involved, if you're a creative, maybe you make video and so forth, that's not even counting, it's only nonprofits, counting what you do. And so that's $1.5 billion of economic impact a year, 3 times more than it was in 2010. That would not happen without business support for the arts, because business is really our major patron. We don't have, it's not the Renaissance, we don't have kings that are big patrons and popes. So business provides a lot of that. So I think it's strong, but I think it could be so much stronger. And I think it would be stronger if business leaders, because what we found is that a lot of times there could be a lot of people in a company that are engaged in the arts, that love the arts, that want to support the arts more as a company. But if the business leader doesn't see the value in it, it's really hard to make that happen. So I think a lot of it, though, has to be education and talking about how, yes, the arts in a company can increase everyone's experience. So if we have a wonderful program that American Airlines is one of our stars in, called On My Own Time. And it's for companies that want to show off the artistic talent and literary talent of their employees. And the people that take part in this love it, because you can find out that, she writes poetry and you write poetry, and you never knew that about each other, and now you have something in common. It could be that the person that's over in this department meets the person in that department, and it's just such a great, great way to bring people together. So there's all kinds of value for the arts for companies internally and externally, but I think that as employees, it's important to educate the leadership on how that can happen, and that is one of the things that we do. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Sean, can you tell us a little bit about how On My Own Time has impacted American Airlines, and give us some other examples of programs that American Airlines has supported, not just financially, but in what other ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from an art standpoint, first and foremost, it comes down to employee wellness, employee engagement, and really encouraging the total self of a team member. We've been part of On My Own Time for 20 plus years. It's an amazing experience. I was a coordinator a couple of years ago, one of our executive sponsors today, and it allows folks from across work groups that wouldn't necessarily get a chance to perhaps even meet each other, let alone work together, to come together for kind of a common goal, a common program. That's something that we've done for many years, and just looking across the last couple of years of award winners, it cuts across every work group, across geography, from some of our newer employees to folks who've been with the organization for quite a while, and we also include spouses and retirees in the eligibility for the art show. And of course, the winners go along with other winners from other competing companies in the area to a region-wide show, which allows not just American, but other companies in the area to show off the amazing talents of their team members that we otherwise wouldn't see if they're just working on a spreadsheet presentation, doing something as part of their daily role. Mimi, I'll turn it over to you, let you talk for a bit.
Thank you. So we've actually participated in On My Own Time as well, and some of my most fond memories are discovering that a colleague is really good at needlepoint.
Right.
One of my male counterparts, that he did that in his spare time. And another colleague of ours, and this makes a little bit more sense, but in the analytics team was carving these very intricate sort of Mobius strip things that never end out of marble in his spare time. So it was an interesting way to get to know our colleagues a little bit better and engage our customers. So we would have the internal exhibition and voting, and then some of the winning pieces would go in the windows, either downtown Neiman Marcus or at North Park, which we've had a very great experience with that. To speak a little bit more about some of the programs you saw on the video, all of that video was taken actually, was filmed at Booker T. Washington. So we've been a very, very close partner of that school for decades. We currently focus on their internship program and hope to even get more and more engaged with this project in the future, where we fund the Flying Horse event every spring consistently for 10 years since the event initiated. We're their 10th anniversary sponsor this year, very exciting. We're very proud. And all of the money raised from that Flying Horse event funds the summer internship programs, which allows their, I think, juniors and seniors to take internships in the arts. So they're not only understanding through their education how to perform and create art, whether it's studio, visual, performing arts, but learning how to have a career in those arts as well. So they place students from the opera to Spark to the Nasher and Big Thought, all different arts organizations across the city. And because of our involvement in other organizations, they are actually paid for those internships, not by the nonprofit, but by the donations of companies like ours. So we like to think in that project that we're helping the city grow great talent for future positions in the arts, which is fostering kind of the cyclical and sustainability position of the arts in Dallas. That's one very, very small example. We, in my role, I focus on philanthropy nationwide. So we have projects and partnerships from, what I like to say, from Palo Alto to Palm Beach, and everywhere we have a store in between. We've just opened a new store in Hudson Yards, which is in Chelsea in New York City. And so we're working on a very meaningful partnership with the High Line. We're working with the Culture Shed, which is a new cultural institution and arts institution in Chelsea. We've worked with Jazz at Lincoln Center, et cetera, the Getty in LA. So I have a really fun job. And the focus on art and creativity stems from the DNA of Neiman Marcus having been focused on fashion and art since day one. So we have a very robust art collection, which has over 2,500 pieces of art spread across our offices and stores. We have Warhols and Lichtensteins and Picassos. My favorite is a Frank Stella, which is currently in the New York store. And the collection started actually in 1951 with not a custom piece, a commissioned piece with Calder. So Stanley Marcus dreamed of having a mobile in our Prestonwood store, which is no longer around, it's now Tootsie's. So he commissioned a Calder. The Calder lived in that store for several years. Then it went to LA for several years. Then it went to Chicago. And it recently in March made its debut in New York City. So we have certain very interesting pieces that sort of make their way around the United States. And where does this concept come from? The idea that Stanley Marcus had was that you need things to look at when you're shopping. You can't just shop, although I think you can. But that the art is a place for your eye to rest. So similar to how we have restaurants in our stores where you can rest and recuperate and sort of re-energize yourself. If you have beautiful art to look at, that enhances the shopping experience. So that's not really answering your question about projects. So projects, we do all different types of things from Spark. Has anybody here heard of Spark in Dallas? Okay, there's like a couple hands. So it's a space for creativity. I like to call it a children's museum. That is not what they call themselves. But it is right down the street on South Side in Lamar. And from day one when they opened, we've had associates helping mosaic the floors, paint the walls. A lot of the installations there have been made with things that have come out of the visual department from Neiman Marcus. So we used to have tubes that went all through the Christmas windows, and those tubes are now at Spark. So that was a big partnership with Associate Engagement. And then we continue to fund their Creativity Week, which is every spring, celebrating the concept of creativity. So, I mean, we have tons of partnerships. Tell me if you want more, but I think that's a good start.
It's a great start.
Yeah.
So for each of you, can you tell us what personal passion drew you to these roles and your advocacy for the arts within your respective organizations?
Yeah, I think I'll start. I mean, for me, kind of my love of the arts really started as a student at the University of Texas down in Austin. Having the ability, just as a student volunteer, to be exposed to all of the different arts programs through our Performing Arts Center. Not only did it fit a student's budget at the time, but more importantly, it exposed me to a lot of different types of art that otherwise I may not have had the opportunity to be exposed to. Fast forward, kind of moving back to the Dallas area and being part of American Airlines, it has allowed me not just to balance my very kind of analytical, quote, day job, accounting, finance, lending stuff, but it allows me kind of a opportunity to fulfill also some of those other passions that wouldn't necessarily fit perfectly well in a truly technical role. We talk a little bit about programs, and I think one takeaway for the individuals and companies here today is whatever you do, it doesn't necessarily have to be the magnitude of a renowned art collection. We have the C.R. Smith Museum, in and of itself a fabulous collection, but it can also just be smaller things within your organization. Our company not only supports the ability for our team members to volunteer with whatever organization they choose, and we give them points and awards for doing that, but we also actively support our employee resource group. And so through that, our Arts Leadership Council is one of those employee resource groups that I've been active on and has allowed me to, in turn, support the other individuals in our organization that have kind of that shared passion as well.
So before I tell you my story, I do want to just bump off of what Sean said. With the Arts Leadership Council, we have an incredible program called Leadership Arts that has been going on for 30 years in Dallas, was funded by the King Foundation to start 5 years ago in Collin County, and it's for business people who want to serve on nonprofit arts and culture boards, and it's just a phenomenal program with phenomenal people. So if you're interested in that, please come and see me after this. I love this program, and I will tell you that the people that are in the program and have been, we survey everything, give us really high marks, and we just love them. So, so business and the arts. So also, if you have a degree in the arts and then you went into business, I want to talk to you later too, because we're the same. So I have a degree, a master's degree in etching. And so if you know anything about printmaking and etching, you know it's a really fine 15th century communication technology. And so for me, I always loved etching, but when I got out of school, I realized there weren't that many jobs for that specific profession, much as my parents had told me. But I was just following my heart. And so for me, I needed to have a job. Every job I got after graduating I went to Indiana University at Bloomington, was arts administration. And I really liked that because something about etching is it's extraordinarily detailed, but you have to keep the big picture in mind. And that's kind of how I am. And so, so then translating that into what I do every day at BCA, I feel like that's somehow that worldview or that way of thinking really just resonates with me. And I love the arts, but I love the business side too. And just communicating how important the economic impact is and so forth. So that's how I got here.
Personal passion. So in college, I had an internship in Europe in fashion. And so my evolution was not necessarily specifically the arts, but growing up professionally in fashion and growing into this role. So it it wasn't necessarily a deliberate choice, it was an evolution, which I'm very thankful for.
Sean, have you seen how does an art-infused workplace affect your employees?
Yeah, I think to me, when art-infused workplace, that's a very complex term. I like to break it down as just, I've had the pleasure of working in a lot of different facilities in my time with the company, and there are obviously some facilities that are very uplifting, they're engaging, they support communication and collaboration, and there are some facilities that may not do that as much. If you look at some of the changes that we've been able to do, our investments, be it planes, airports, break rooms, new campus, even maintenance facilities, that has allowed our team members to be much more engaged in what they do. It elevates kind of the mind and body and spirit if you can step away from your desk, go someplace either outside or within the building and relax in a very kind of friendly, warm location to either focus on work or take a quick break from work. But more importantly, when we do a lot of surveys about just overall satisfaction, it's something that comes true and again. You walk into these areas and immediately you're drawn up to look at the ceiling, you're drawn to look at this amazing artwork, be it in an Admirals Club or in one of our workplace facilities. It makes our employees happy. I think it makes a lot of our customers happy to see that type of art kind of infused really in everything we do.
Mimi, how do you reach and engage the community beyond your company in the arts?
Such a good question. So as I mentioned before with the example of Spark, we have a very robust associate engagement program. And so we encourage our associates to get out into their communities and volunteer, and it does not have to specifically follow our mission of arts and creativity. We have 14,000 associates across the United States, and we see projects from in-store associates, making holiday cards to send to kids in hospitals, to teams in corporate, cleaning up downtown, stuffing food bags at the food bank. And what I love specifically about this program is that it is any mission that is important to you. It's what we call an open project or an open campaign. And every full-time associate at Neiman Marcus actually gets 3 full vacation day or volunteer days off. So we call it VTO, volunteer time off. So they're encouraged to get into their communities, and whether it's a couple of hours a day here and there or a full 3-day period of time, we actually have a couple people that go on mission trips, and they can take 3 extra days to fulfill those important focus areas for themselves. In addition to that, running out of time, but we also do a fundraising campaign amongst our associates, and we encourage them to give to any organization that is important to them. So whether it's the ASPCA or homelessness or whatever may be important to them, it does not have to necessarily follow the arts. So as Sean was talking about earlier, associate engagement for us is whatever is important to them is important to us. While our corporate mission is arts and creativity, we're thrilled that our associates have a variety of focuses that they focus on.
Perfect. And Catherine, how can small and medium-sized businesses support the arts in their own ways?
So it's really interesting because for nonprofit arts organizations, a lot of times what they look for when they're wanting funding or support is they think Toyota or they think the big companies. They don't think about the mid and small, but the mid and small are really a good place to get support and volunteerism and services, because usually the owner is on premises, not in a headquarters in another city. And small and medium businesses tend to give what they have, what their actual industry is. So just a quick story. Avon Cleaners won an award at our Obelisk Awards, which honor businesses and individuals who have done something superior for the arts. Mimi's our chair this year, actually, for the Obelisk Awards. But Avon Cleaners, small mom and pop cleaners, they love Dallas Children's Theater. They wanted to do something for Dallas Children's Theater. And if you're familiar with this, it's a great organization. They make all their own costumes. And to have another stream of revenue, they wanted to lease out all their costumes. But you can't lease out costumes without having them dry cleaned in between. So Avon Cleaners stepped up and said, we will take that on for you in perpetuity. We'll make sure that those costumes that you create are dry cleaned so that you can lease them out to other theater groups and ensure this ongoing revenue. So that's just a great example of what a small business can do. Or just donating services, donating knowledge. If you're a good project manager, donate that. There's so much that you can do. And a good friend of mine, Marianne El-Hadif, I told her I would always give her credit for this quote, said, there's nothing that a business has that a nonprofit arts organization can't use.
Good point.
Well, that's it. Thank you very much, all.
Thank you.
And
Yep, sure.
We're good.
I think if anybody has any questions, please come see us in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.